What's up, and welcome to another episode of The Gamer and the Noob, the first episode of 2021. Thank God 2020 is behind us.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, nobody did. But some good things happened. We can talk about them here in a minute. If you are new to the podcast, make sure you hit the heart, or wherever you're watching it, wherever you're listening to it. We'd appreciate some comments and some feedback. And if you're not familiar, this is The Gamer and the Noob. This is the show where we talk about all things video games from the perspective of the seasoned gamer and the novice, the noob. Hi, my name is Sam. I'm the gamer.
And I'm Steph. I'm the noob.
Let's get into it.
I can game with you, play when we want to. I can game with you, the gamer and the noob. I can play with you, game when we want to. I can play with you, the gamer and the noob.
Okay, so before we actually get into the game that we've been playing, 2020, let's recap. We had 10 episodes of The Gamer and the Noob.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We're figuring it out.
Life was weird.
Life was weird. It was 2020.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
We did our best.
Did we, though?
Listen, we survived.
We did. And, we started the podcast together as kind of an experiment, a time to, spend some time together and do something together that was part of my hobby, which, I really appreciate that. And it kind of grew into something a little bit bigger. And every episode, we got better and better, and we figured out new kind of, techniques and making it sound better, and people liked it. Evidently. So we're going to come out with new episodes every Wednesday. That is the plan. That's the plan. She gave a face. You gave a face.
It's not that I don't think that we can.
Yeah.
It's just, I hope we exceed all of our endeavors.
Yes. 2021 can't be as bad as 2020. It's not going to be. Well, this is
I would really prefer you to not challenge it.
Well,
let's not throw down any gauntlets here. Let's just keep everybody nice.
Well, we'll see. But we did good. We're gonna do better. Weekly, every Wednesday. You can find it on whatever you listen to your podcasts on, hopefully, and YouTube. And we are going to be building a video set kind of thing. So we're going to go all Joe Rogan in here and have a video podcast, but just us two.
Does anybody want to know what we look like?
People know what I look like. Well, they know our caricatures on YouTube if they follow us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you follow us on YouTube? Go follow us on YouTube.
Yeah. www.youtube.com// one of the slashes, the switch bit. The switch bit. That's where we're at. That's who I am. If you don't know me, I make video game music and video game videos, and my wife puts up with me doing that. So.
Yep.
Okay, so we are actually playing games.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is a genre I've been wanting to get into with you. If you've listened to any of our other episodes out there, we've done fighting games, we've done first-person shooters, we've done puzzle games, but one of the things I've been wanting to get into the podcast was RPGs. Okay, specifically JRPGs, and you've heard me say that, right?
What?
You've heard me say that.
J?
I've
never heard the J in front.
What do you think the J stands for?
I'm assuming Japan.
Yeah, Japanese role-playing games. So there are two kind of categories.
You're saying that as if it's one long word.
Japanese role-playing games.
Okay.
JRPG.
Okay.
The other, the main alternative is a WRPG, which is a Western role-playing game.
Cowboys and Indians.
No. No. Not like a Western, but like a Western, American or European developed. It's about who develops it.
Are you telling me that European games are considered Western?
So, yes, What is
the logic in that?
Okay, you're thinking of logic like it has a place here. It doesn't. Okay. So you have Japanese role-playing games, and then pretty much everything else is a WRPG. Well, typically what it is it's RPGs with a Western influence or a Japanese influence. They fall into those two categories. So you will find games developed by American developers, indie developers, European developers that fall into the JRPG. You can tell like that's what definitely motivated them to make the game.
Okay.
There is very big differences. So Western RPGs are more like The Witcher.
Okay.
Okay. So I know I'm only talking about that because we've played it together a little bit before, but there's a lot of other games like Skyrim. You know, those are definitely Western RPGs. It has a lot to do more with typically a big expansive world with branching quests, and when you talk to somebody you have like several different options of what you're going to say, and then every time you say something it's like branching differently.
Okay.
Typically in my eyes they're a lesser quality because they're going for a larger scope, and the Japanese games, as you see with the game that we're about to talk about, are typically very more focused. Yes, there's branching paths and stuff, but it's a more focused story. Stories and character progression is very like an integral part of it. Nowadays, there's more of a blending of it all. But like the game that we're playing, which is Nino Kuni. Oh, I was going to ask you if you remember the name.
I'm really glad that you did not.
Nino Kuni. That is very much a Japanese RPG, and it's a game that I've never beat, but I've started a few times. I think you may be getting further than I've ever got, honestly. And that's only because, not that I didn't like it, but, you know, life gets in the way, other games get in the way. So Nino Kuni originally was a DS game, a Nintendo DS game. I'm pointing to my video game systems on the shelf right here. I'm pointing to a Nintendo DS. It's one of those things. Not very powerful. Your cell phones are more powerful than that, you know. And then a couple years later, they reimagined it for the PlayStation 3. So it actually started as a handheld title, and they were like, yeah, this game has potential. So they put it on the PS3, and that's what we're playing it on, even though recently it came out on all the systems. It's on Switch right now. It's on other games, like a remastered version of it with slightly better graphics and upgrades and stuff.
Is it the same game that was on the DS, or did they change it a bit?
So it is the same story, but they made it like more expansive, made the graphics better and the battle system more robust. Gotcha. And everything. It was only available in Japan on the DS, so nobody's ever really played it over here unless you found it illegally or you imported it or whatever. So I don't know a lot about it. I honestly didn't know that until recently. I thought that the PlayStation 3 was the first version, but yeah, it wasn't. But so if you follow me on Twitter, you've known that I've kind of redone the whole game room thing. I got, TVs and all the video game systems hooked up. The PlayStation 3's hooked up, and Steph was in the game room, and I handed her the PS3 controller and Nino Kuni, and she just started playing. So I want to hear about your experience playing the game. Did you even know what I was handing you?
No.
No. You were just like, all right, let's give this a thing.
I'm getting used to that feeling. I'm getting used to you just handing me things and say, go ahead. Because whether I fail or not, like, you're always there to assist me in it. So, yeah. So
it starts, and it's this cartoon-looking thing. Like, what were you expecting?
I'm not exactly sure what I was expecting. I don't think I had a lot of expectations in the beginning because I didn't fully understand what it was going to be anyway. I never really know. So I just started playing it, and it was a lot of story at first.
A lot of story.
A lot of story.
And it's not all voice acted. A lot of text.
No.
There is some good voice. I mean, there's voice acting, like as if it's because it looks like a cartoon. It looks like an old Japanese animated cartoon.
It does. It looks like a comic book.
Right.
Voiced by Hugh Grant. Like, one of the main characters looks like a giant nose, but has the voice of Hugh Grant.
I see. I haven't noticed that.
Oh, gosh. That's all I hear. I just, expect Sandra Bullock to show up.
And it's going to be a rom-com all of a sudden.
Yes, that's what it feels like. For real. So I had to get past that. I had to start seeing him as, a nose character and not Hugh Grant.
Yeah.
He looks like a giant nose with a lantern.
That's what he is. What's his name?
Drippy?
Drippy, yeah, like a drippy nose.
That's disgusting.
It's a Japanese role-playing game.
That is so weird.
You can't make sense of it.
That is so weird.
And it's...
Can I talk about the king?
The king? Not yet. We'll get there. We'll get there. Because right now we're still in the opening, right?
All right.
And what's going on in the whole opening? It's like you're just getting to learn this boy Oliver's life, and there's a little bratty kid who's obviously a bad influence,
Yeah, what's up with that?
I think that's just in every, Leave it to the Beavers or whatever. What was that show back? Leave it the Cleavers. Remember Eddie Haskell? Hold on, we're losing people right now.
I don't know.
The Beavers was a
You're losing
early
me.
yeah. Okay, the kid from Polar Express, the little bratty one who's like, the know-it-all kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like getting you into something in this game, right?
Yeah, he's being a bad influence. They build this car,
The
boxcar thing. They go to take it out for a drive in the middle of the night when everybody's supposed to be asleep. And then it ends up going into the river. Mom gets some otherworldly warning that wakes her up in the middle of the night.
Yeah, she wakes up and she hears her son, Oliver. Well, first of all, she realizes Oliver. No, she wakes up, hears Oliver, realizes he's a little liar, right?
And also in danger.
Yeah. So
she goes looking for him. And just suddenly, in the whole town, she knows exactly where he is.
Yeah.
And then she goes to save him. She does. Everything's better. Yay! And then, like, out of nowhere, she just dies.
Yeah. But do you know why she died? Like, because they were saying, like, in the background, you could hear the townsfolk talking. And one of them said, oh, she never did have a good heart or something like that. So, like, that's, like, the only reference as to, like, why she died.
Yeah.
But that right there makes you think, like, she probably is not supposed to exert herself very much.
This woman has comorbidities. And a pre-existing condition.
Yes, absolutely.
That her son knew nothing about. And now he's all alone in the world.
Yeah, so she's dead.
His only friend is Mr. Drippy the Nose.
He appears out of nowhere, right, Mr. Drippy. And then you guys go into, like, a magical world. Which makes you think, we're still kind of pretty early in the game, right?
I hope so.
My curiosity...
I still don't know what's going on.
Well, we're going into... Okay, so I looked it up. Do you know what Nino Kuni means?
No.
Nino Kuni means second country, or it could be colloquially, like, referred to as second world or another world. That literally means a different place, another world. So this kid has his mom, and that's it, and then she dies, and he's pretty heartbroken about it. Now, is this world real, or is this like his way of coping? So I'm kind of curious about that, like, moving forward. Is this like real magical
he's
stuff?
like in an insane asylum?
Who knows? I don't know.
Is that a Japanese thing to do?
I don't know.
All right.
I'm not like a.
That would actually be interesting.
See, and maybe we don't know, but like his mom recently, like we were just playing, and she appeared to him. Like in a vision, and she's like, yeah, I keep going.
Yeah, but they keep alluding to the fact that she's part of this other world that he's going into.
Well, she woke up out of nowhere, hearing his voice when he was in danger. So maybe she has some kind of powers. Anyways, story aside, you get into the game, and then you can actually play the game after many minutes and hours, probably,
it
of you
was
having
a
to
long
press.
time.
Yeah, you were almost quit.
I was trying to quit. I just didn't want to lose the progress. So I was looking for a save point. I was trying to quit. I was like, good gracious. Like, when do I get to play a game instead of read? And I even made the comment to you of like, this is what turns me off about certain books. Because I do like to read. I do like entering fictional stories. But the thing that turns me off about certain stories and certain books is like when it's all set up for chapters and chapters and chapters, and they don't get to this story.
Right. It's all set up. It's all world building.
I don't mind the world building while I get to play.
Yeah.
But I'm not really into like just reading a novel in the beginning.
So just like, and that's also something you see a lot with Japanese RPGs. There's a lot of setup, a lot of world building. And really a lot of tutorials. So what makes reading, which is kind of what you compared it to, reading a book that has a lot of setup and that's not getting to the meat and potatoes of it all. But in the game, you also have the tutorial. So you have to learn how to play the game because every game is completely different, right? How to navigate the options in the menus and the yada yada. And they also have to market this game and assume that whoever's playing it has never played a game in their life. You know, they have these tasks set up to you to run around town, but really those tasks are just set up for you to be able to use the left stick and the right stick and figure out where the menus are. So it's this really slow buildup of a process. And honestly, you're still in the tutorial. You're still learning things about how to control this game. And we're over 3.5 hours into the game now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's still like a tutorial, honestly, at this
Which
point.
I think is the exhausting part.
Yeah.
If there could be like some tutorial and then let me play and then get to a different section and then put a little bit of tutorial and add like a difficulty level to it, I would be okay with that. It's just that it kind of feels like they're throwing everything at me all at once, and so that I can play the rest of the game.
Right, and that's what makes
a
good game versus, you know, maybe a poorly paced game. And I'm not saying this game is poorly paced. I think it's doing a pretty decent job. I mean, it opened up, I'd say, about after an hour or so.
An hour is a long time. When you sit down and want to play a game, an hour feels like a lot.
This game is going to be 40 plus hours long. Just hope you realize that.
Like, in the grand scheme of things, that doesn't sound like a lot. I feel like you mean that to sound a lot. It doesn't. It's just in the very beginning of what it's supposed to be, to start playing, that feels like a lot.
Yeah.
For me, being someone with very little time, being a mom, being a wife, like, I just don't have the time to sit down for an hour to learn how to, like, read the video game manual.
You have the time, you just rather not spend your time that way.
I would rather not. Because
you can play an hour, spend an hour of Animal Crossing,
sure,
accomplishing something.
Yeah, I can do something.
And that's
there.
the difference. You feel like you're accomplishing something.
True.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting more out of that. Whereas, like, when I'm just reading instructions,
yeah,
I feel like, oh, it could be doing the dishes or the laundry.
So let's say when the game opened up and you actually got to battle and you're learning the battle mechanics and everything.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy it at that point?
I did. Because to me, the thing I'm the most well versed at in all of this video game, like, playing in a different kind of reality world, is the Wizards Unite on the phone.
Yeah.
And in the same way, it talks about like the health and magic points and whatever
HP and
stuff.
MP. Yeah.
I can relate it to that, which I do understand, because I spent a lot of time like walking around the park, like, for exercise. But while I was exercising, I could also play this game. So I understand that, and that was fun. It's just all these other little things they're making me learn along the way.
And it's a lot of the similar concepts, right? You have health points, you have magic points, you can cast spells, you need to use consumable items to increase your health points and magic points, and there's different items you can use that give you different, you know, results, and yada yada yada. There's a lot of that, once you like learn the basics of it, which I feel like is what you're kind of doing in this game.
Yeah.
Most games follow a very similar pattern. HP, MP, consumables, magic, and as you level up, it increases, and your defense increases, and your attack increases. The main difference typically is going to be the attack system. So in this game, you can attack, but you also have like little, what do they call them? Familiars?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can have little familiars that you can also level up, like Pokemon almost, you know, and attack for you, and you can throw them in and out of the battle at any time. Did you find that an enjoyable battle system?
It took you explaining it to me for me to fully understand, like, how to operate that.
What didn't you understand? What portion?
Well, in my frustration to, like, just get to the game, just get to the point, you know, they throw so much information at you that, like, some of it toward the end, I just started letting go of.
You were just didn't care. Skipping through the text, not really paying attention.
Yeah.
You're just so, like, get to the next thing.
Yeah. So my very first thing, I had to battle this, what was it, like a forest guardian or something. Yeah. And I couldn't remember how to switch from the familiar to the kid again. And that was difficult because I needed to, at the point that I was at, I wasn't really strong enough to do it without both of them.
Right.
And so it took you kind of like stopping me and saying, okay, here's your game plan. This is what needs to happen in order for you to win. And I had to kind of reevaluate.
So at that point, you were just kind of going at it almost one-dimensionally, I felt like. And I gave you like options for you to do. So I was like, at this point, because it's the initial boss, it's like the tutorial boss essentially. And typically in those games, when you hit that first boss, you're not going to beat them unless you've leveled up a little bit. It's kind of teaching you the game flow. So I gave you the option of like, you can go back out and level up, fight some smaller creatures in the overworld. And then I talked about kind of the flow of how you can use the familiar, because they have different strengths. Like one of them is stronger against this, and one of them have magic spells, the other one doesn't. And there's this whole, very quickly, I kind of described options laid out for you that I saw strategically.
Which was really helpful, because not all of that was apparent to me. The fact that the familiar could defend better than the kid could was not apparent to me. The fact that the familiar could attack more than the kid could, but the kid could use spells.
Right, and
more.
the monster was weak against fire, and the kid had a fire spell, but the kid was also vulnerable, so you had to switch back, and there was,
I really needed someone to like lay that out for me the way you did. So that was very helpful.
So did that change how you looked at like battles going forward? Like almost like a diagram or like a flow chart?
Yeah.
Of like if this, then that kind of thing?
Yes. But that was also the part when I realized I was having a lot of difficulty switching from the different movement pads.
The joystick and the D-pad?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was when I realized, like, oh, I have to use both of these.
Because the joystick is for character movement and the D-pad was to navigate the menus, right?
That threw me. That was difficult.
That's pretty standard stuff, too. D-pad is typically like menu navigation in those type of games. So like more stuff that you'll see whenever we get to play Final Fantasy 14. This is all building up for us to play Final Fantasy 14. I just like, I want you, I'm not kidding. Final Fantasy 14 is a massively multiplayer online RPG. I'm hijacking this podcast. It's an MMORPG where you can play together with all your friends, all your family, strangers across the world. Sequel to one of my most beloved games, Final Fantasy 11.
Which was awful.
Awesome.
Awful.
I want you to be my white mage and you can heal me while we roll together around the world. Chris, Corey, everybody's invited. All right, back to Nino Kuni.
Okay. I feel like you have quite the plan.
This is all training. Speaking of that, like, okay, last time anybody who's listened to this podcast, we tried to play Borderlands.
I hate it so much. I hate it.
Well, you had a lot of difficulty because it involves two different control sticks. And
it involves coordination.
Yeah. And then we played some other games like The Witness and some other games that may, to help to improve your ability to navigate with the left stick and the right stick simultaneously.
Yeah.
And I noticed you were doing it.
Did you? Did you notice?
I did notice before you brought it to my attention. I really did. I was like, ooh. You were navigating and controlling the camera.
Yeah. I was running and looking in different directions.
And you weren't looking at the ground.
Or the sky.
And the sky. Yeah, or the sky. You looked like a pro.
So you noticed that before I said it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you were looking away, and I was
noticed
like, look, I'm doing things.
You said that tonight, right? Yeah, I noticed that last time we played, you did it well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed. So, like I said,
you didn't say that. Why are you holding out?
You seemed focused, and wanted to save it for the podcast.
Oh, okay.
So we're like 4 hours into the game. You want to play it. You like periodically you're like, let's play that game. Or if I mention it, you're like, yeah, let's do it. But you played it for an hour tonight-ish, and I felt like you got burnt out pretty quick. Maybe not even that long.
Well, I knew there was a different item on the agenda board.
That's true. That's true.
That was part of it.
You were trying to... Okay. So wasn't burnout. Do you want to see what happens in the story next? Because we did get to the king, and you said you wanted to talk about his meowjesty.
What is it? What is it?
What?
With like the culture of just worshiping cats.
I don't know.
Because the king is a cat.
The whole kingdom is cats.
Meowjesty.
His meowjesty.
Why?
When you go to the inn, they're like perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, I don't know if you noticed. Well, you did notice because I pointed it out to you, but like the armor of the soldiers it looks like they have cat ears.
Yeah, I did not immediately realize that.
So it's a whole kingdom of cats. So
but why?
King Tom.
Tomcat.
Exactly. So why? Is it because this kid had a cat and he's in some like weird coma because he's still in the river and he's like at the hospital? You know what I'm saying?
Which one is it, the river or the hospital?
Well, he was in the river. And maybe they found him and he was in a coma and he's in the hospital imagining all this. Maybe his mom died and he went crazy. Or maybe he's really into some magical world. I don't know what's going on. I like to think he's just in a magical world of cats. And I like that. But who knows? So like that, but that kind of adds fuel to the fire. Like this is such a weird place.
But it's weird because the soldiers are people. They're just wearing cat helmets.
But are they? Because the way that the helmets come down, it covers the nose, and you can't really, like in the inn, you couldn't really see, but a little bit, you know, due to the graphical limitations, honestly.
But the king is a full-fledged
cat. The king is like
he's a real cat.
He's like Garfield. He's and he also hates doing anything, evidently.
Yeah, he hates Mondays.
But loves lasagna. I don't know.
Loves it.
TBD. We haven't got that far yet. So do you want to see what's going on in the story?
It'd be nice. Let's get to it. Like, I hope there's more than what I'm seeing currently. Because what I'm seeing currently is just the instruction manual.
Yeah. That is what that's a really good way of looking at it, honestly, because rewind to back in the day when you played the Sega Genesis when you were a kid, right? You had one. We talked about it before. Those games came with like 15, 20, 30, 40 page instruction manuals of how to play. And then you get into the game and it just assumes you know it because you read it in the instruction manual. You're not running around in Mario and it's like, boop. Before the Goomba shows up, like a question mark is like, hey, this is a Goomba. Press A to jump. No, right. You learn by doing, you learn by dying, you learn by retrying.
That's true.
So these type of games, especially nowadays, you don't have instruction manuals. They don't come with games anymore. They literally don't.
Well, yeah, because they ended up in the trash. Nobody read them.
I did.
No, you didn't.
I brought my instruction manuals to school and showed them off like they were a freaking prize.
No, you didn't.
I swear on everything I did. It's like, check out this new game I got, guys. Now look, because they were full colored. This was what happened back in the day.
Full color.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I'll show you. Stop. I'm looking for an instruction manual.
Okay.
In one of my games.
Okay. This could take a while. You've got a few.
Okay. I'm going to show you the evolution. Okay. That's not part... It's part 2 of the evolution.
You look like Michael Scott, like trying to prove a point, but failing.
But failing? Oh, Lord. Okay, well, can't prove the point. Okay, so after a brief pause of trying to find some instruction manuals, I'm just gonna show you. This isn't black and white. This is when they started to cut corners.
You say that with such distaste.
This is when they started to cheap out. There's a Sega Genesis manual pulling out here. So there were full-colored instruction booklets of like art and story. Like a lot of games back, you didn't know the story. You had to read the instruction manual to get the story of the game in like the NES days.
Very weird.
And that, I mean, there were limitations, graphical memory limitations and everything. And then you just read the instruction book and like, okay, this is what I do. A lot of times they'd have all the enemies listed, the items listed. You just knew it from the instruction manual and you play through the game. Die, rinse, repeat until you got better. But then the games became...
Did you come up with that on your own?
Yes. Die, rinse, repeat. Yeah.
Okay. Good job. Good job.
And then the instruction manuals became black and white, right? Less glossy, you know?
You got to save that money.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it came down to.
Nobody was reading them anyway.
Yes, they were. They were at that time. And then a point came where they started making like the instruction manuals like virtual. You'd press pause and go to the instruction manual. And now they don't even,
It's just the game.
Now you just go online. Yeah, well, yeah, it's the game where you just go online, like watch a YouTube video. Like somebody's going to have a tutorial somewhere, including
Here's how to make the perfect
the switch bit. All right, I'm done plugging myself. But yeah, you're essentially, that was a really good point. But you do want to play more, right?
I do.
Do you want to play other JRPGs?
Sure.
That did not seem authentic.
Because if it was me on my own, like, where would I even start? I don't know. Obviously, I'm new at this. I don't even know where I would begin. Whenever you went out into the Twitter world and was like, hey, what game should I get her to play? Because she's really struggling here. There wasn't a lot of options given.
Like with the first-person shooter stuff?
Yeah.
The games that they were mentioning were games that you were struggling with.
Yeah.
Literally.
They were like, this is the most basic there is.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we're trying that, and she's failing epically.
So I grew up with games from the 8-bit, 16-bit era playing RPGs. So those were a lot more simplistic, and I've evolved and grown with the medium as it's evolved and grown. So you're like jumping into it, at a level where it's grown to a certain point. So I honestly think the best thing for you to do is to go back in time and play a RPG from the Super Nintendo, not Final Fantasy, because that's the one where you were like couldn't even get through the opening cutscene.
I feel like that's the drawback. That's the drawback of like, yes, that probably would make me improve, but there's got to be a better way for people to get into a world like this.
You're right.
There's got to be a better way to jump into being able to play a practice version, a level intro, or, like beginner that doesn't involve like really, really outdated graphics.
And there are different games. There are games that do it better. We're playing a game from almost 10 years ago,
I'm not really... I don't dislike the graphics in this. I think it's something that I'm getting used to, but I've never played anything like this.
Imagine in the past 10 years how like some games have evolved, even in the ability to get somebody interested without, turning them off. Because that's a big part of it,
Right.
When they're trying to sell a game, they don't want people to quit after an hour or two or whatever. But I really think there's a game that I think that you would enjoy playing. It's Super Mario RPG. So it's all the characters you're familiar with in the Mario universe, but playing in an RPG setting. And I think that may be something that we can play together that you would enjoy and that I would enjoy, that could kind of really break down all the tropes of the genre so you can get kind of accustomed to it and then kind of, go further with your RPG stuff instead of like jumping into, a game like Final Fantasy 14, just to mention one.
Is that coming out soon?
It's been out.
Oh.
I've got a sealed copy of it waiting to play.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that'll happen.
Will it?
Yeah, so you want to keep playing Nino Kuni.
I do.
There is a Nino Kuni 2.
I am interested to see if there's a darker timeline going on here.
I think
like,
there
is
might
it
be.
a whole different universe, or is he just insane?
Yeah. Well, it seems like there seems to be a maniacal evil person pulling all the strings from the behind the scenes.
But is that really just the doctor
Yeah.
in the insane hospital?
You like zoom out and just him like shaking in a corner or something, or in a bed.
How sad. Also intriguing.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, we're gonna keep playing that, and maybe some more JRPGs in the future, or a WRPG. Do you want to watch any Studio Ghibli movies now? It might be called Ghibli. I don't know. I think Ghibli sounds better. There's a very famous animation studio called Studio Ghibli. They're the ones who animated the cartoon story elements of this game. They have a lot of like Princess Mononoke or whatever. They have a lot of really famous movies, and some of them are really good. I've only watched a few.
So the art style kind of reminds me of that movie that I was bringing up a couple nights ago.
The Last Unicorn?
The Last Unicorn, yeah. I watched that when I was little.
I wonder if it's like Japanese or not.
I wonder that too. But it reminds me of that. Maybe it's not, but Like, there are aspects of it where I'm like, that seemed a little odd compared to what I was watching at the time, cartoon-wise.
Right.
Like, the dialogue was just slightly off, and, like, the animation was just slightly different than what I was used to.
Was it, like, something that... Because what I'd noticed with those type of movies, the Studio Ghibli movies and other ones kind of like that, it's a movie that's not pandering to kids. Is that kind of how the vibe you got, you know? With Last Unicorn?
I mean, I feel like it was made for children.
Why? Because it's got unicorns and it's bright colored?
Yeah.
Or does it, like, put forth more, like,
definitely
adult and abstract concepts that you wouldn't notice unless you watched through the lens of an adult?
I don't know. I feel like I should rewatch it.
Let's go watch it.
I mean, there were definitely some parts that were scary.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't for kids. I don't know.
We'll see. The 80s were a weird time, man.
The 80s were weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird things. So we're going to play some more JRPGs. What other genres do you want to play?
Yes.
Whatever.
I don't know.
You don't even know the genres,
I'm
do
the
you?
noob here. I don't know.
That's true. That's true.
What?
Well, we'll get into it. We will play some more genres, and we will get back to you all. Thank you so much for listening to our first inaugural 2021 podcast. Gamer and the Noob, every Wednesday. Check it out. Make sure you share, comment, heart, like whatever you're watching on, listening on. Let us know you like it, and we want to hear from you. All right. Happy hunting, everybody.
Bye.